Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be making my first video on the Little Cup, showcasing Poochyena, Seal, and Alolan Vulpix. The great thing about Alolan Vulpix as a safe switch is that it has access to Dark Pulse, which can threaten things like Bronzor. And a lot of times, people switch in Bronzor into Alolan Vulpix, not knowing that it has Dark Pulse. So in the first match, we have a Poochyena versus a Growlithe. Now, the main goal of this team is to draw out the Bronzor, or a Pokemon similar to that, something that would beat both Alolan Vulpix and Seal. Now, I have a Growlithe lead, and Fire-type leads are a bit tough because Alolan Vulpix is a pure Ice type and loses to Fire. So I have to store up extra energy on my Growlithe and then extra energy on my Poochyena and then swap into my Seal. Seal has Icy Wind, which can debuff your opponent's attack, allowing you to tank more hits. Now, my opponent switches into a Scorpy. Now, Scorpy has a pretty close matchup against Seal, but does not win against it. Now, they swap into a Bronzor to try to take out my Seal before I can get a move off, but I'm able to swap into my Poochyena just as quickly, and they shield the first crunch, and I go for the second one, and they do not let it through, and this is a 70 damage move that does a lot of damage, and Poochyena has a very high attack, and it only does around half health of a Bronzor, which is pretty crazy because Bronzor is extremely tanky. Now I try to undercharge this to get some extra snarls in, but I'm not able to. But unfortunately, I don't have any shields left, so when I bring in the Seal, it dies to one Flame Wheel because it was of its health left, and then I have to bring in my Vulpix, and it just survives to get off a Dark Pulse, and then the Scorpy is at 1 HP, and 1 Powder Snow will take it out. Now, in a bad lead, such as a Dino, Alolan Vulpix, I swap into that, and because their Bronzor doesn't want to see my Poochyena, they usually swap into a Bronzor. And if they get 2 Powder Snows off, then I'm able to actually get to 3 Dark Pulses. So this is a Squirtle lead, and I'm just going to go straight for Poison Fang because I don't know how tanky Squirtle is, but they do shield. So I'm going to swap into my Seal now, and they swap into a Bronzor. Now, it would have been great if I swapped into my Alolan Vulpix, but I swapped into my Seal because it resists all of Squirtle's moves. So the Bronzor comes in, and I'm just going to debuff the Bronzor with Icy Wind, and Confusion and Psy Shock don't do that much damage because Seal is pretty tanky in this meta, at least. And along with that, I can survive more hits by just debuffing the attack. Now, I think it's been debuffed 2 times, so I can just come in with my Poochyena and I only have to shield once. They quickly swap into the Squirtle, and I'm going to shield in case it's an Aqua Tail, but it's just an Aqua Jet. So, I'm going to swap to my Vulpix now, and knowing that it's Aqua Jet, I'm not going to shield, and Aqua Jet doesn't do too much damage. It does around half health, but Vulpix is able to tank it pretty well. Now I go for a Dark Pulse, and it doesn't take out the Squirtle, and I take it out with Powder Snow. And the Bronzor comes back in, and I'm able to get to a Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse deals around 40% of Bronzor's HP, which is pretty good for a Pokemon that doesn't get stabbed from it. So now what I'm going to do is just shield and try to completely farm down the Bronzor. And I'm able to farm it down, and I have 2 crunches ready, and there is a Darumaka in the back. Now the thing about Darumaka is that it can't take a hit, but it does a lot of damage. So they shield the first crunch, and look how much damage 1 Fire Fang did to my Poochyena. And then the second crunch comes through, and it almost takes it out, and I win the game. Very well played, and on to the next one. This match, my opponent leads with a Dino. This is horrible. I swap into my Alolan Vulpix immediately, and they store up what looks to be a Body Slam or a Crunch, but they swap into a Bronzor. That's not good for them because Alolan Vulpix get to 3 Dark Pulses if they try to farm me down. Now, I get the first shield, and I shield this one because I think I can get to another Dark Pulse in time. And I am able to get to the Dark Pulse, and this will either get the last shield or take out the Bronzor. That's how deadly Alolan Vulpix is with energy advantage. It can take out Bronzors. So I come back in with my Poochyena, and unfortunately, Poochyena has to match shields with Bronzor if it wants to win. And since I had loaded energy, I have to shield this Gyro Ball, which would do a lot of damage. And I'm able to farm down the Bronzor, and the Alolan Vulpix comes in, not the Dino, and one Crunch does a lot of damage. I'm going to overload on energy. I'm going to go for a Poison Fang, since it's lower energy cost. It does less damage, but it's enough to take it out. And then the Dino comes back in, and because of the damage that Powder Snow did from the Alolan Vulpix, one Crunch is just enough to take it out. Well, not enough to take it out, but 2 more Snarls, and it takes out the Dino. Well played, and good game. In this battle, I am met with another Dino lead. So I'm going to immediately swap into my Vulpix like last time, and again, they don't swap out immediately and throw a move. Now I'm at shield disadvantage, but energy advantage. Now, energy advantage is extremely dangerous with Alolan Vulpix because Powder Snow generates energy extremely quickly, and Dark Pulse deals around 40% of Bronzor's health. Now, this Bronzor, I get the first shield, and they try to farm me down, but Alolan Vulpix is able to get to the Dark Pulse, and this will either take it out or get the last shield. I'm telling you, Alolan Vulpix is deadly with stored energy and energy advantage. And even without energy advantage, it can at least get to 2 Dark Pulses. So, unfortunately, they get to 2 Gyro Balls here, or to heavy slams, and it does a lot of damage, but now I can farm a lot of energy with Snarl because it generates energy very quickly, and I go for a Crunch, takes out the Bronzor, and out comes a Cottony. Now, the good thing about Poochyena is that it has a lot of coverage. It's weak to Dark, right? Weak to Fairy because of its Dark typing, but Fairy is weak to Poison, and Cottony has a double weakness to Poison, so one Poison Fang does a lot of damage. Then I'm able to swap into the Seal and go on for an Icy Wind and take out the Dino. Now that was a full-blown meta team of Dino, Cottony, and Bronzor, and this team handles it pretty well. In this match, the lead is Drifloon. This is an amazing lead. Drifloon is a ghost type and is therefore weak to dark. However, I will swap into my Alolan Vulpix because I want to see if I can find a Bronzor in the back. Unfortunately, they swap into Cottony. Now, the one downfall to Alolan Vulpix is that Dark Pulse doesn't do enough damage to take out a Cottony at this health range, so it actually loses to Cottony. Most people, however, shield, so that comes in my advantage. However, Cottony leads are pretty tough because some people who know that they can just shield and farm down will stay in the matchup. However, that doesn't happen too often. So a Bronzor comes in, and I'm just able to survive the Psy Shock, and I go for the first Icy Wind to debuff the Bronzor. It does basically no damage, but at least it can lower the attack of the Bronzor. I debuff it 2 times, and now I can farm a bunch of energy. Now, a lot of times against a Bronzor, I think they don't shield, and they actually do. And sometimes it's better to actually go for a Poison Fang if you know that they are going to shield. Now, I shielded their last move, and now I can just completely farm down. I have a crunch ready, 2 crunches ready actually, so I can just go for 2 of them back to back and take out the Drifloon. So both Poochyena and Alolan Vulpix are very deadly with energy, although they can't take a lot of hits, so you do need to save shields for them. Seal, however, doesn't do too much damage with Ice Shard and Icy Wind in neutral and resistant matchups, but it is tankier than most Pokemon in this meta. At least not Wynot or Bronzor. Anyways, into this match, and I get a horrible leaf of Nincada, and Nincada is a bug and ground type Pokemon, so bug is super effective dark and does a lot of damage. However, they go for Night Slash on my Vulpix, and that was a mistake because now they swap into a Bronzor, and I already have 2 Dark Pulses ready and can easily get to another one. This is just shows to go how deadly Alolan Vulpix is with energy advantage. I said it before and I said it again. Alolan Vulpix is deadly with energy advantage. However, I actually get lag and I'm not able to get to the third Dark Pulse, not Icy Wind. And that does mean that I don't take switch advantage or shield advantage. So we're in a pretty bad spot now because now they can align their Nincada to my Poochyena, and they landed Gyro Ball, which does a lot of damage, and I thought that a Poison Fang would KO the Bronzor from here, but Bronzor is so tanky that it actually resists it so much, and I think that did less damage than a Poison Fang would do to a Galarian Stunfisk, which resists it even more. And they actually bring in their Nincada, which definitely means that whatever is in the back is weak to ice, because Nincada is also weak to ice, and it's a Dino. Now, Dino is a Dragon type, and it is weak to ice, so one Icy Wind will take it out. Very well played, and good game to my opponent. I hope this was a good showcase of how you don't need to run Bronzor, Dino, or Cottony. You just have to run Pokemon that can counter Bronzor, Dino, and Cottony. Anyways, I'll see you soon. Peace!